This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. If you thought that Rudy Giuliani was a despicable character yesterday, just wait until you learn what is within the pages of this particular lawsuit brought against him by his assistant or collaborator, Noelle Dunphy. Within the 70 pages of this sworn affidavit, this complaint against Rudy Giuliani, there are several allegations made. He made her work naked, made her be on video calls naked or in a bikini with an American flag on it that he bought her, that he forced her into sex, that he was in a pay for pardon scheme with Donald Trump for $2 million a pardon, the proceeds of which he and Donald Trump would split. This is, I mean, it defies logic and reason and decency, everything that I'm getting ready to read here. And on that note, I'm not going to bleep. I mean, there's some slurs that I'll bleep in here. But I'm going to say some bad words that are direct quotes from Rudy Giuliani, allegedly. And I want to warn you about that. So if you're watching this at work or your kids are around, turn me down or mute or watch this later. But I'm going to read from several pages. I mean, hopefully this isn't going to take too long, but I just want to give you a flavor for what we're dealing with one of the most preeminent, highly respected Republicans in the history of the party. America's mayor, remember. We'll start here. Giuliani moves Miss Dunphy's work location from the company's offices to his apartment and continues forcing Miss Dunphy to satisfy his sexual demands. Giuliani made clear that satisfying his sexual demands was a requirement of Miss Dunphy's employment. Giuliani preferred working with Miss Dunphy in his home and later from hotels so that he could easily transition from work to demanding sexual gratification and back to work. Thus, Miss Dunphy worked under the virtually constant threat that Mr. Giuliani might initiate sexual contact at any moment. Although Miss Dunphy never knew when Giuliani might force sexual contact on her, upon information and belief, his actions were premeditated because, in many instances, he had taken Viagra or similar medication beforehand in preparation. This, I mean, look, the allegations that are outlined here are abusive. They are indecent. And I don't mean indecent like, oh, she's naked. It's indecent. I mean, it's not containing of characteristics of decency. It is lack of compassion. It is abusive. It is using a human being for your own desires against their will. Listen to this. Giuliani often demanded, and also keep this in mind, this is a sworn court document. People are submitting this under penalty of perjury, under penalty of law. This isn't just like, we'll just tell some lies and see where it goes. Giuliani often demanded that she work naked, in a bikini or in short shorts, with an American flag on them that he bought for her. When they were apart, they would often work remotely via video conference, and during those conferences, Giuliani almost always asked her to remove her clothes on camera. He often called from his bed where he was visibly touching himself under a white sheet. Throughout the employment and attorney-client relationship, that's the other thing here, this woman was a client of Rudy Giuliani. He was helping her apparently pro bono with a case involving previous domestic violence against her. This woman's already a victim that he's re-victimizing. Throughout the employment and attorney-client relationship, Giuliani forced Miss Dunphy to perform oral sex on him. He often demanded oral sex while he took phone calls on speakerphone from high-profile friends and clients, including then-President Trump. Giuliani told Ms. Dunphy that he enjoyed engaging in this conduct while on the telephone because it made him, quote, feel like Bill Clinton. Upon information and belief, some of the individuals who Giuliani spoke with on these calls were law clients of Giuliani, such as Mr. Trump, who were unaware that Ms. Dunphy was in the room and could overhear their conversations. As part of this lawsuit, we're also going to find out that, well, also let me say this, a lot of this is recorded. It says, and this is part of a phone recording, this has been recorded, and apparently Giuliani consented to having his voice recorded by her. This is telling because it involves the plan leading up to the 2020 election that if Donald Trump lost, they were going to say he won anyway. And this is in 2019, they planned this. On February 7th, 2019, Giuliani told Miss Dunphy to take a note to remind him to pay taxes on a private jet ride he was gifted by a friend. The same day, Giuliani told Miss Dunphy in her capacity as his employee about a plan that had been prepared for if Trump lost the 2020 election. Specifically, Giuliani told Miss Dunphy that Trump's team would claim that there was voter fraud and that Trump had won the election. This plan was discussed at several business meetings with Giuliani and Lev Parnas. The fix was in. Here's this one. He also asked Ms. Dunphy if she knew anyone in need of a pardon, telling her that he was selling pardons for $2 million, which he and President Trump would split. He told Ms. Dunphy that she could refer individuals seeking pardons to him so long as they did not go through, quote unquote, the normal channels of the Office of the Pardon Attorney, because correspondence going through that office would be subject to disclosure under the Freedom of Information Act. Here's more proof, if you ask me, of sexual misconduct. There's a text message, a photo of a text message, a screenshot. On February 21st, 2019, Giuliani called Ms. Dunphy 4 times, and he also texted her the following. Good morning, my love. Tried to call. That's from Rudy Giuliani, to which she replied, your scotch is with me. I'll bring it for you on Thursday whenever we meet. Let me quickly shower, question mark. He says, can I shower with you? And then she goes on to explain that she needs to get ready for the cable person or the internet installer. On February 21st, 2019, Giuliani and Ms. Dunphy worked together on her domestic violence litigation while he drank scotch and groped her until he eventually demanded sexual gratification. On February 23rd, 2019, Giuliani told Ms. Dunphy that he could, quote, get in trouble with underage girls, end quote, if they were 16 but looked 20. This conversation was recorded. On February 25th, 2019, Giuliani forced Ms. Dunphy to have sexual intercourse with him for the first time. Before this, Ms. Dunphy had refused and avoided having sex with Giuliani, although he had forced her to engage in other sexual contact. But on February 25th, Giuliani told Ms. Dunphy that he would not wait any longer to have sex with her. Ms. Dunphy objected and told Giuliani repeatedly that she did not want to have sex, but Giuliani would not take no for an answer. He eventually forced her into having sexual intercourse with him. She never consented to intercourse. Beginning in May 2019, Giuliani became more abusive toward Ms. Dunphy. He continually pressured her into sex, was unconcerned with obtaining Ms. Dunphy's consent regarding Ms. Dunphy's boundaries as a survivor of domestic violence, and behaved in a hyper-aggressive manner during sexual interactions. Giuliani disregarded Ms. Dunphy's request that his conduct stop and her pleas that physical violence, domineering behavior, and abusive language was triggering and re-traumatizing for her. For example, get a load of this. This is wicked. This lays bare any ideas or assertions that Rudy Giuliani is a decent, loving, American who cares about it's all a ruse. For example, during sex, he called her a cunt, a bitch, and Rudy slut, and discussed his interest in BDSM, which refers to bondage, dominance, sadism, and masochism with her. Ms. Dunphy repeatedly told Giuliani she was not interested in participating in such conduct. Indeed, Giuliani was well aware of Ms. Dunphy's aversion to physical violence or emotionally abusive language of any kind, real or simulated, because of his work as her attorney in connection with her domestic violence case. Nevertheless, he continued to talk about BDSM and violent sex and demanded that she engage in such conduct. It then goes on to talk about, I'm not going to read this part, but that he was a big fan of the show Billions on Showtime. There's a character who's a lawyer, played by Paul Giuliani, whose ex-wife or wife is into this, or they're both into it as a couple. And so he's fascinated by it, apparently. Here's this. Page 43, if you're following along. Throughout Ms. Dunphy's tenure, Giuliani made sexist, racist, and other highly distressing and offensive comments which created and added to the hostile work environment. Now listen to some of this stuff from Rudy Giuliani. For example, Giuliani made comments described below, many of which were recorded. Some of these were recorded. Giuliani made derogatory comments about Jewish men and implied that their penises were inferior due to natural selection. Giuliani told Ms. Dunphy that black guys hit women more than anybody else does, and so do Hispanic guys. It's in their culture. Rudy Giuliani, apparently a cultural anthropologist, a sociologist. Giuliani said, Jews want to go through their freaking Passover all the time. Man, oh man, get over the Passover. It was like 3,000 years ago. The Red Sea parted, big deal. It's not the first time that happened. Giuliani made comments about freaking Arabs and Jews. Giuliani demeaned and sexualized Hillary Clinton and mocked her body. Giuliani demeaned and sexualized Margaret Thatcher and wondered about the effect she would have on his penis. Giuliani said if my life depended on it, if I had to make love to Nancy Pelosi, I couldn't do it. I'd have to die. Giuliani referred to employee Vanessa Ryan, who is Maria Ryan's daughter, as fat, and said that he felt bad for her because she was fat. He further said he was trying not to feed her. Giuliani disparaged a female lawyer because of her breast size. Giuliani made a series of derogatory remarks about the LGBTQ community, including Giuliani claimed that Mayor Michael Bloomberg became gay because his wife left him. Giuliani named a prominent Republican as gay. Giuliani used the slur to refer to actor Matt Damon. Giuliani mocked Senator Elizabeth Warren as in search of a gender, stating Pocahontas was a really hot babe, and Warren does not look like a babe. She looks like a person in search of a gender. Giuliani later said he was very hot for Elizabeth Warren. Giuliani named a prominent lawyer who he believed would require $10 million for gay sex. Giuliani then insisted that he was the only one of his male friends who would turn down any amount of money to have sex with a man. Giuliani said to Dunphy at various times in statements that were recorded, I'm going to make it a little painful. Stick it up your ass. You're a fucking slut. You're my bitch. I'm going to get my cock in there. Be a slut. Be Rudy's slut. Giuliani called Miss Dunphy a whore. Giuliani said, I want to own you officially, legally, with a document. I can't control myself. I lose control. I think of you all the time. I'm unable to control it. I'm addicted. I can't think about you without getting hard. Even when I think about how smart you are, I get hard. Giuliani stated that he would, quote, would get in trouble with underage girls if they were 16 but looked 20. And then I guess I'll end it here. I have another page, but I'll end it here. He said this to her. I think of you as my daughter. Is that weird? Which Giuliani said while engaging in sexual contact with Miss Dunphy. That doesn't surprise me at all. Rudy Giuliani married his cousin. Doesn't surprise me at all that he would be in league with Donald Trump, who also wants to have sex with his daughter. These people are reprehensible. They are disgusting. They are vile. They are sinister. They are not to be looked up to. They are not to be venerated, and Republicans are doing it. So we're going to follow this particular lawsuit. This is not surprising, but shocking nonetheless. What do you think? Gross. I'd love to know what you think. 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. Follow me on social media. I'd love to see you there. And listen, if I am your flavor of political commentator, I would very much appreciate your support, whether you give a super thanks, whether you become a channel member for $1.99 a month, or whether you go to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. If supporting monetarily is not in your budget, do not stress. There are ways to support the show. You can click like, you can comment, you can share this video with your social network. I love you guys. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for being good people. I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.